Welcome to this, yet another installment of Cheap and Cheerful. Today we travel back to a simpler time with Hard Reset and its extended edition, which includes the Exile DLC, previously Path to Exile. In fact, this is all now just bundled up in one game called Hard Reset. Hard Reset is a cyberpunk FPS that harkens back to the origins of the genre. The controls and player movement feel simple, compelling you to circle strafe. To me, it felt clunky and heavy. It didn't have the speed of something like Unreal Tournament, and the inclusion of a jump, better described as a hop really, doesn't help the feeling of being a barrel of bricks on legs. Of course, if you're doing an old school FPS, then a plethora of weapons is a must. This, Hard Reset does get right. There are 10 weapons, each with an alternate fire, so there are plenty of options to lay waste to the enemy. The weapons are broken into two classes: conventional weapons and energy weapons. Switching between the two types is agonizingly slow, but my favorite weapon combos were on the same type, so it wasn't too much of a hassle for me. The world of Hard Reset is decidedly cyberpunk. You're fighting sentient machines that in some cases even appear to be partially human. There's a nanobot threat, a questionably moral government faction, and a vague rebellion to round it all out. The actual plot details are sparse and delivered mostly through graphic novel-esque cutscenes between levels. In theory, this is an interesting idea, and it's cheap to execute. In practice, it was confusing and let down the world they built. It wasn't helped by the voice acting either, which is passable at best. It's a shame because I was looking forward to the cyberpunk aesthetic and a good sci-fi thriller story. I never found those parts of the game engaging, and I really wanted to. Overall, the combat is true to its roots, but it gets a little repetitive later in the game. Where it shines the brightest is the visuals. It's held up well, albeit only for 3 years, and the explosive and electrical effects are very pretty. You will begin to notice a fair amount of asset reuse pretty quickly, and this really exposes the heart of almost all of the game's issues. It was clearly made on the cheap. While this isn't necessarily a bad thing, especially as a bargain price game, it just left it feeling sparse and empty. So given all of this, I can't give a simple recommendation for Hard Reset. If cyberpunk or old school FPS are your thing, then you'll probably enjoy all 10 plus hours provided by the campaigns. If this isn't you, then you'll probably make it 6 to 8 hours before you're bored. But I also wouldn't blame you for taking a pass if the aesthetic you see in the video doesn't pique your interest. That's my thoughts on Hard Reset. This has been Cheap and Cheerful. Thank you for watching, and as always, you can find more at youtube.com/CAC Games.